The following audio presentation is a production of Rutgers, the State University of New Jersey, in association with the Division of Continuing Studies and the Institute on Ethnicity, Culture, and the Modern Experience. This production was originally funded by the New Jersey Historical Commission and has been remastered by the Rutgers ITV studio.
A New Jersey Transit train from Philadelphia barrels through the South Jersey Pinelands. In 1854, a group of investors laid the first tracks along this line, with plans to establish a healthful resort on a desolate seashore island. Skeptics called it the Railroad to Nowhere. The investors called the destination Atlantic City. And succeeding generations of vacationers, entertainers, and entrepreneurs earned Atlantic City its self-proclaimed title as America's favorite playground.
New York Avenue.
Bernie Mikolojak drives his tiny jitney bus along Pacific Avenue in Atlantic City and calls out the names of the intersecting streets.
Kentucky Avenue.
The city's founders laid out and named these streets, and the Monopoly board game immortalized them. The boardwalk first appeared in 1870. Hotels on the boardwalk grew from Victorian frame buildings with long porches to Moorish-style landmarks, which earned the city the moniker Baghdad by the Sea. As the hotels grew, so did the city's black community, which supplied most of the hotel labor. Ravander Nash was born in Atlantic City 95 years ago.
My mother worked as a waitress. My father worked as a waiter in the hotels. My father, then, he became what they call a colored magistrate here in Atlantic City, and you were something when you could do that.
Prominent visitors through the years have included everyone from America's good gray poet Walt Whitman, who rode the train from his Camden home, to President U.S. Grant, to Scarface Al Capone. Entertainers have ranged from Sousa to Sinatra to the Stones. And the city has been the subject of Broadway shows, movies, and songs.
On the boardwalk in Atlantic City, we will walk in a dream.
The Steel Pier, which opened in 1898, was one of the resort's most popular venues. One admission purchased a full day's entertainment. There were movies, dancing in the Marine Ballroom, human cannonballs, and an act which would become a symbol of Atlantic City.
It's a picture of me riding Red Lips, one of the diving horses. There were many diving horses over the years, of course, but this
Arnett Webster French describes a 1931 photograph hanging in her home just outside Atlantic City, showing her in mid-air riding on the back of Red Lips. The horse is diving from a 40-foot-high platform into a tank of water on the Steel Pier. Arnett was a teenager when she arrived in Atlantic City in 1929 to ride the diving horse. As a child, she says, she dreamed of visiting Atlantic City. What she found was a city of dazzling lights and elegant hotels, and a boardwalk crowded with women in hats and dresses, and men in summer suits and straw boaters.
It was like an enchanted city. You know how sometimes you are disappointed when you find a dream come true. Well, when I got to Atlantic City, I thought it was just as great as I thought it would be.
Ed Davis, a longtime Atlantic City radio personality, shares Arnett French's memories of an elegant city.
In our day, the boardwalk had what they called tone, and you dressed to go on the boardwalk.
Davis grew up in rural Williamstown, Gloucester County, listening to big bands and idolizing the band leaders. So he says it was the thrill of a lifetime when in 1947, as a young service veteran new to radio, he landed a job hosting live coast-to-coast broadcasts of big bands performing on the Steel Pier.
Okay, this is how I introduced Duke Ellington many times from the Steel Pier. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, from the beautiful breeze-swept Marine Ballroom of George Hammond's Steel Pier, a half mile at sea in the world's famous playground, Atlantic City.
For listening and dancing around the nation, music by Duke Ellington and his famous orchestra.
Ravander Nash may be 95, but the years seem to fall away at the mention of Ellington, who she says she often saw on the Steel Pier and in Atlantic City's famed Club Harlem.
Oh, my, he was just like that. Oh, yes, indeed. Oh, I wouldn't have missed him. Nobody would miss the Duke Ellington.
train to find the quickest way to get to Harlem.
The train once got people to Atlantic City in a hurry. But after World War II, airplanes and automobiles took visitors to other destinations. The resort's fortunes fell, and by the 1970s, so did its landmarks. In 1972, Ravander Nash watched as the mosaic-tiled domes of the Tremor Hotel, where she and both her parents once worked, tumbled.
We could see her. She was up, and we could see her go down like that.
The venerable Marlboro Blenheim, constructed under the supervision of Thomas Edison, came down in 1978, the year Atlantic City's first casino opened. Today, the city's skyline is dominated by concrete and glass casinos, which, say Atlantic City veterans Ed Davis and Arnett French, offer glitz, but not the elegance of the old days. Reminders of those days may be found in the Atlantic City Historical Museum on the Garden Pier. There, Betty Givens shows off the museum's collection of Miss America crowns and gowns, artifacts of a pageant staged in Atlantic City since 1921.
There are still young ladies that believe that they will be Miss America, and they can be. And that's one of the great joys of Atlantic City, because all things are possible.
This belief that all things are possible is a thread which connects modern Atlantic City with its past. Gamblers believe it with every toss of the dice. A young Georgia girl believed it and rode the legendary diving horse into history. And the founders of Atlantic City believed that their railroad to nowhere would one day create America's favorite playground.
Waited for in romantic, enchanting Atlantic City, down on the old New Jersey shore.
I'm Paul Conlow for New Jersey Times.